Dick. I was on stream.
I didn't know that.
You did know that.
But just because I was standing behind you for the entire time.
Yeah. So I was on stream at CCS, the 2K on Sunday, and Dick, in being his bestest, sat and watched the whole game. And after the game had ended, he had like immediately critiqued things that I did, which is fine. I can take it. But I wanted to kind of go back and walk through the set again. Also make fun of the wonderful game 2 that we that we get to watch. That's, I don't know, maybe 4 minutes, or it should have been, if it was like any other game, it would have been 10 seconds. I would have conceded game 2.
I was gonna say, if it were me, we would have went to game 3.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. So we're gonna put this on. We're gonna walk through this a little bit. We'll take breaks. I can't actually fast forward here, which was upsetting. I was gonna hope to like make this faster, but on the platform I can't. I was gonna do a speed up, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. But yeah, so I was playing Amethyst mid range, and Chris Anderson here is playing Amethyst Sapphire control, I would say, ramp control. This matchup was really interesting in general. I had no idea what Chris was playing when we sat down, literally no clue. So I kind of just went into it mulliganing for like general curve. But yeah, so it was a really interesting game as it plays out, because I learned right there that I hate Turnabog on turn 1 so much. I wish it was just Broom. But yeah, so the matchup is really interesting. I think the games are very back and forth. Like watching this set over and kind of going back, like even when I was playing, I felt like, man, this was like, aside from game 2, which is dreadful, I think there's a lot of like back and forth in these games, and it really did come down to like the final cards in games 1 and 3 to win it. When you were watching from the side, were you like noticing anything dramatic about these games?
Well, I didn't know what your opponent was playing either, and his turn 1 didn't let us know. The only thing I remember is I thought you should have been more aggressive with the cards that you played. Like game 1, you don't really know, but like I think the 1/3 Tinkerbell, when you're on the play, which you had another one, like you inked one, I believe, already. Yeah, like I just don't know how they ever beat that if you go turn 3 and turn 4.
Yeah, this is a fun one too. In the broadcast, Jeebus, by the way, huge shout out to Jeebus. It is not easy to commentate by yourself. Like, he commentates almost half this matchup by himself. But it made me laugh because he put up this Peter Pan thinking that it was Peter Pan instead of Tinkerbell. And he talks about Peter Pan for like 5 minutes before he realizes that it was a Tinkerbell.
Oh, that's fine. When I saw the Peter Pan pop up, I thought that was in your opponent's hand. Just because I can't see the hands.
This does freeze a bunch, as you can see. Like, it just unfroze, and all of a sudden there's a genie in play. They're a credit to like the guys over at Lore 20 running this, but I do think that they are doing a lot, and they're trying to do like a ton off of one laptop. And I think that this is why you get these frozen screens a bunch. Like, their setup was great. It really was. I just don't think a laptop has the ability to do it. And that's why you see all these like freeze screens come up, which really sucks. It's really unfortunate because the setup itself looks phenomenal. Everything here looks great, the whole thing. But when you get these frozen screens on and off all day, it really like takes away from the actual gameplay. And like, this is still just frozen. Like, and a lot of this is what's going on is that I think Jeebus is the one controlling the screen, and he's not realizing that it's frozen for the stream because he's like actually still watching the live. So it takes someone in the chat to comment like, oh, the screen's frozen, and he has to like flicker on and off. but it happens a bunch, which was like a really big letdown, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's also probably a venue thing. Like we go to the encounters so much they drilled a hole in the wall.
Yeah,
for us. Yeah, like most places, like Lorcana is not CCS's like number one draw.
No.
Yeah, so
but,
like
200+ players is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, but what I mean is I don't think that they're going to want to have like a dedicated desktop left there for people to use to commentate events.
It would definitely be nice. It would go a long way for sure. Because like a laptop is just, it's only so strong, and that's just like a fact. Like the idea that they're running 2 of these into one laptop is just so much for it to take in, to like control. You got to be like super top of the line, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, and I didn't see Jeebus all weekend, so he was working hard.
Yeah, they were literally.
I literally like I knew he was commentating. I did not see him once.
Yeah,
I would normally go up and say hi.
I talked to him before the event started, and then I didn't see him again for like the day. Man, when does this unfreeze?
Never. Boom.
Right.
Look at you, crushing it.
Like, obviously, this is pretty far into the game. I think this is literally when he discovered that it was a Tinkerbell. I think that's what happened. I think he looked at chat, and chat was like, oh, I think it's a Tinkerbell. And then he goes, oh, the screen's also frozen. So I think, like, it all kind of happened at once. As you can see, there was a lot of Genie Elsa trading that went on in this game. It's honestly Chris's whole deck. Chris's whole deck was just repeating Elsa over and over again, and then a lot of this game is just repeating Genie for more and more lore. I will say, like what Dick said, I think is very true. Is like once I had realized that he was playing Blurple, I knew that my best chances in the game were going to be to go wide. There's just not enough ways to interact with the board for him. And even if if his play every turn is just like repeating Elsa, it's still only going to be one character a turn. I did find out later he had the Spirit of Winter, but he never saw her in all 3 games. So I actually said to him at the end, I was like, I definitely was not even playing with the idea in mind that you had Elsa Spirit of Winter in your deck. So like that was just me not knowing the matchup, which at any time I think he draws it, it probably turns the matchup in his favor. Definitely in game 3 if he draws it.
Yeah, game 3 was very close.
Yeah, game 3 came down to like the absolute wire. But you can see what this deck is doing. It's just like it's definitely securing lots of different like ways to remove, tap, bell. And both of these decks are doing that. Like Sapphire and Amethyst, like the mid-range deck that I'm playing is very much trying to play underneath the same style. I think the notable thing here is the Diablo. I think this Diablo gains me like 5 lore.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think the Amethyst is probably the best deck at being on the draw because Sail is such a good catch-up mechanic.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be very good to play the 2 Tinkerbells in a row, like I said. But when he skips right into a Genie, and then the next turn it's going to be an Elsa, he can take him out turn after turn. The problem is he always needs to use 2 characters to take out one of yours.
Yeah.
So that's is fine.
Like even this turn, like we're on turn 1,000,000, and I'm just like, yeah, here's 5 lore, go.
Yes. Once like if you play against Amethyst, once you realize they are like never questing, you just like they're always responding to what you're doing. They're never in the driver's seat. If you just never take your foot off the driver's seat, you should win, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we've seen that at the encounter a lot.
Yeah. There was actually a game where I think it was the encounter weekend. The Blurple deck was not really in position to win the game, but then the Ruby Sapphire deck decided to just go off script and play defense for no real reason, and Blurple was able to just win out the game, just grind you out of it.
Does he remember to use the fox?
So yeah, no, this is what happened in the middle of the game, which people probably didn't really get the context for. Oh no, that was game 3. Or no, was it this game? I think he couldn't use. I think there was a potential mistake where he could have used fox and didn't.
Yeah, like at some point he needs quest.
Right. So I think that's kind of what this. I guess if the fox trades there, it's gone, and maybe he just wanted it in play. I think there's a good potential for that going on. But there's a play later on that we have to like kind of work through and discuss. I think that this is definitely like the turning point of the game of going, okay, he's now representing 6 lore. So can I actually win the race is kind of where my decision points are going right now. Because there's a real chance that even if I gain 3 lore here, if he answers both my characters, I can't actually win the game. So I think that, like, depending on what I drew, I can't remember exactly what I draw here, but I'm pretty confident just me considering how do I actually win this game before he can just beat me on, like, a shorter clock.
Yeah. Also, like, we're talking about trading the fox stuff. Like, there's merit to not doing it. We're not saying that he made a actual mistake.
Yeah, like keeping the fox around is still like a good thing because a lot of his deck does have like this snake pickup line. Yeah, so here like I decided to trade off my 1 cost for his 5 cost, 2 lore for 1 lore, and I draw a second card. And this is a turn, like this is a really debatable turn. Is like, should I have taken that much, like my whole turn off to remove things from the board? You know, I think it's a very fair conversation to have. His deck does draw a lot of cards.
Yes. Even like inking the bell that turn might have been not great to Zeus. No. I know it's like
that was
brutal.
Kind of the conversation, you know.
If he returns the Elsa, it's like the only thing that keeps his deck going. But
yeah. Like even that, like again,
I remember watching this turn and I was thinking, oh, you won. when you drew the library, cleared something, and it replaced itself, I thought, oh, this game's over.
Right, and so this is the turn where it gets kind of messed up. So I instantly put the library in the yard because he said, oh, I'm gonna fox your library, and then he never foxed the library. So the fox stands up and he taps the Calhoun and then runs fox into it. So technically the way that just played out, he got like a free kill. And luckily for us, Kendall was standing by, and Kendall said your fox had to challenge the library, or like he announced that it challenged the library.
Yeah.
So because of that, the Calhoun gets exerted, but he can't actually finish the Calhoun off, which kind of technically messed up his whole play. But he was playing like he was shortcutting, and by shortcutting, he actually potentially made the wrong play because I believe the card in his hand is a rabbit. So instead of playing this Elsa to exert my Calhoun for nothing, the better play would have just been play the rabbit.
Yes.
But yeah, so like we called a judge over, we ran back the entire turn, we got to where we got to, and it was just like, no, this is the line of plays that were made because of it. So that was just us just like kind of retracing the steps and getting it all correct again. But the realization here is that by playing too fast and not exerting the fox, it definitely like threw his own turn off because he had to keep this Elsa in play over playing a rabbit. And in theory, like the only difference in play here is that the Elsa can come in and exert whatever is their next turn to get the trade, which is definitely a very fair and valid point. But this Calhoun's always going to gain 2 lore here.
Very interestingly, if he would have bounced the bell, you would not have traded your crab into his exerted fox because the fox would have been dead.
Right.
When he traded it into Smee. He or sorry, not bounce the bell. If he didn't challenge with the bell, the
Right.
bell would still be at full health. He could have bounced it that turn, replayed it, gotten the damage off of his genie, and just killed your Calhoun because it moves the damage.
Right.
He would have ended up, I think, like easily winning the game.
I mean, obviously he's like a long way from 20, so I would have had a little extra time. But I do agree that like there's definitely potential plays that could have changed the game without a shadow of a doubt. But even here, I'm just like, all right, here's my 2 lore character, go. Like you now have 2 Elsas. I knew he still has a rabbit in his hand, so he has to basically find a way to get rid of this Elsa, and the only way he could do it was like another Let It Go, or a way to pick up the Elsa. And he finally now attributes to the board of going like, hey, I got to win this game. He goes up to 6. He's not even representing lethal here. And I just draw a goat off the top, so I just win the game. But
yes,
he wasn't even representing lethal on the next turn on the swing back. So honestly, like any card I can draw there is still representing a lethal kill no matter what. But so during the shuffling here, we'll come over here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Dick, we've been playing with heavy play for about a month now. How are you enjoying heavy play sleeves?
I have no comment.
So, no, I mean, I think it's fair to be a little bit honest. I like playing with the heavy play sleeves. I do enjoy the idea that they are preventing me very heavily from shuffling the wrong, like upside down and things like that. I've had a couple break though, like I've definitely had, I want to say I've had a sleeve per tournament break. So that's not great, but you can also, if we just compare them for price for sleeves, they are $5 cheaper than Dragon Shields, like on the average market price of them, and you still get the same amount, which isn't like the greatest argument, but it is like a truth of like, all right, like for $10 or for $20, I can get 200 sleeves, where I would have to pay $30 to get 200 Dragon Shields. So I've been like them. Sleeves break is what it is. I would hope that the sleeves were a little bit more sturdy than they are, but that's life. The deck box is very nice though. I've enjoyed playing the deck box a bunch.
Well, so when I played Magic, sleeves were a one and done. Yeah. Even between day 1 and day 2 of the event. So if that were the case, I do like how they feel. I like how they look. Most of my opponents make a comment about them. Yeah. Which I think is fun. Yeah. It's just something to talk about. But yeah, I kept them on for 5 tournaments. Mm-hmm. And in the 3rd and 4th, I lost 1 or 2. Yeah. But then the 5th, I dropped like 20 of them. Just 20? Yeah. When I said half of my deck fell apart in my hands, I was being very serious. I think they shuffle better than Dragon Shields. Personally. Yeah. There's no corners get stuck. Yeah, I think they absolutely shuffle better than, and I will say, I only played 1 tournament with the hard inner sleeves, and I liked the shuffle of the hard inner sleeves, but it did make the deck like super large. So, but shout out to Heavy Play. They're always in the description of our videos. We are sponsored by them. I do plan on doing a full video about all the product that we have for them. So we're in the middle of this game. Our opponent has like the best start ever, I think, on the play for this deck, which is so powerful. Had a turn 1 drop, turn 2 Sally Azerite Sea into another 1-drop, and my opening hand, for anyone that wasn't watching, was 4 friends on the other side, 2 strength of a Raging Fire, and like a Tinkerbell or something. Yeah, I wish I knew what you put back. I think I inked pretty heavy. No, like I think I molded pretty heavy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think I had a 1 I wonder if you had any characters. I don't think I had a 1 or 2 drop in my opening hand, so therefore I mostly shipped everything back. I think I did keep a friends, ironically, and then I just drew the other 3 in the next 5-6 cards. So
I want to talk about my turn 3 a little bit here, because obviously I'm like so far behind in this game, it's not even funny. And I drew a library this turn. I think if he doesn't play the genie, I almost will always just cast friends on the other side this turn. I actually play the library in hopes that it actually gives me more time in the game. I think 100% that the play that Chris makes here is incorrect. I think putting 4 damage, I put 3 on there on accident. Putting 4 damage on my library feels so worthless that the idea that I was able to steal 3 lore from him is crazy. I think if his turn is just quest for 4, play Cogsworth, there is like actually no way I can win the game. Like it's just impossible.
Yeah, and when I was looking at your hand, I'm like, all right, we just gotta play this location and hope for some.
Like, I mean, that was the point. It was like, it was can this location buy me a turn or two, so hopefully I can draw out of it, and then like I draw a fox and I have no characters in play. This was I can't win this game ever at this point, but this play was so bad because again I thought that this was going to give my library another turn of life unless he had Elsa. I was wrong. He still trades another 3 lore into it. So the library gained me 6 lore in theory, but it was the most desperate play ever. I think I concede on this turn. If not, it's the next turn. But this is a game that from my opening hand, if I wasn't on stream, I would have conceded. I wouldn't even have played 3 turns.
Yeah, and I think my critique that was you had Genie in your hand. I think my critique as soon as you're done was, yeah, you Zeus some random turn when you could have played a character. I said, we said it doesn't matter anyway, but you still just have to.
Yeah, it was just one of those, like, my own frustration in the game was clearly like, okay, I'm like, yeah, I drew a fox off the top, and I'm like, yeah, that's like that's actually unplayable. Great. And then I was just like, I can't believe my opening hand was so bad, and then it just followed into a bunch of bad cards to go along with it. I think this is a good time to freeze because, yeah.
And just like that, game 3.
So true, though. So true. But yeah, as I was saying, we are affiliated with Heavy Play. The deck box is definitely the shining star. Very nice deck box. Holds the dice very well. Everything connects very well. It's so easy to clean up. Very sturdy too. So after playing now 3 tournaments with the deck box, that's definitely the biggest sell from Heavy Play, I think, without a doubt. Really, really great.
Especially if you're not a backpack person.
Oh,
like
yeah,
I see people
very nice.
Yeah, like I see some people just like have their deck box in their hoodie and stuff like that. It sticks to your playmat, so you can just throw it under your arm. You're not gonna lose anything.
Or you can just like hold it,
Yeah,
like hold it by the deck box, and then like the mat just sticks to it, which is great. So game 3 is a real game. It's pretty bad. It really was. So my strategy going into this game is definitely just have characters to play the first 4 turns of the game and kind of just force Chris to answer it. It's very clear that in game 1, going wide was the way to go. We could argue that me even inking Broom there is just incorrect, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I am a big fan of playing Diablo over Broom or Chernobog because I see so many people ink cards that are just better than the Broom or the Chernobog, play it, and then immediately have to cash it in because your opponent has like a snake or something.
Right.
This I thought was wrong.
I think the argument for the reason why it's not wrong is that Smee is never going to gain more than 2 lore anyway.
Oh, but if you have the snake, you could bounce it back.
Sure.
Like, I remember looking at your hand and just thinking, I would not have done that turn. Like, I think you have like a white rose in your hand or something.
Yeah,
That
I
I'm
do.
just like, there was some other characters that I felt wouldn't accomplish as much.
So this was the play that we talked about the most, is that I did not quest with Snake on this turn. And the reason I didn't quest with Snake is because I didn't want to just freely give up my Snake to a crab here. And the reason why I decided later it was wrong was because if he plays crab here, he doesn't get to play turn 3 Genie, which is what his deck is designed to do. So I'm supposed to take the free, not the free lore, but I'm supposed to take the lore there and hope that he just runs 2 dudes into my Snake. And the best case scenario is he just runs, like he doesn't play Genie here.
Yeah,
which is like, that was the best case scenario. So the only downside of not questing Snake was just this world of like, oh, I should have just quested Snake because that was the duh.
yeah. I felt like you're dirtling here.
I think that I agree with you.
Oh yeah, because you immediately inked a white rose as well. I'm like, I would rather just played that white rose.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was trying to set up multiple threats after like we get established, because like at this point in the game, I know he's going into he's going to go into his Elsa turn. So basically, like I need to have cards in play that like don't just auto die to Elsa. And this was like the best case scenario of like, all right, if he plays an Elsa and he gets rid of my, my Snake, or if he decides to take out my Diablo, whatever, I draw a card. Whereas I think that's kind of where I was feeling. But this board also doesn't threaten Elsa whatsoever, so he's never going to play the Elsa on this turn. So he's just able to just draw another card. But that was definitely a turn that was just not good for me. I think, I'm not positive. I think there is a Genie in my hand, and I opted to not play the Genie because I didn't want to just walk my Genie into the Elsa either. And then we freeze again. It happens a lot in this game, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I also thought your opponent's hand was so strong because he inked a Friends like turn 2 or 3.
He did, yeah. He inked I think it was his turn 4 or his turn 3. He inked Friends.
At this point, from our side, I'm like, we're in the driver's seat, baby.
Yeah, especially like the Donald here. Like that card, I would not be shocked if after this event that was the card that definitely got removed from this list. That card just seemed like
he
the
also
worst card ever.
I'm sorry. He also could have sailed that turn and still played the Donald.
Yeah, because he actually ends up with an ink left over.
Yeah, I remember thinking that when I'm thinking this guy's hand is incredible.
Yeah,
like I was thinking that while he was playing you, like he inked a goat, he inked a Friends, he inked a sail. When he could have freely played the sail. But yeah, the Donald is I hate that card. We played with it on one stream. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
And then and I just don't see where it ever fits in aside from it being ink.
Yeah, like after the fact we had found out that he only had one Cogsworth in his deck, I would always play Cogsworth over that card.
Oh my god, yeah. When I first saw Cogsworth, I didn't think it made that much sense. I'm like, wait, there's not a lot of like it's not like grab your swords effects going on. And then I'm like, oh, your Genie is just protected.
Yeah. Like your Genie and Elsa are just like that much more sturdy,
Yes. Yeah. So I think the Cogsworth is incredible. Maybe the best it's been.
Yeah. I definitely think it's a card that I would be playing more than one of. So this game is going to get to a point that me and Dick like to call war.
I'm the best at
we
war.
just eventually just start playing off the top of our deck. But it really is just like we're turn 6 or 7 here. Very grindy. Like at this point, I'm like, yeah, I don't care about this one lore. I gotta just draw cards. Because we each had 3 or 4 cards, and that's definitely what this came into. There was a joke made in the middle of this game that in game 2, my opening hand was all 4 friends on the other side. In game 3, I was able to actually play all 4 friends on the other side. So many Elsas. I swear I should have made an Elsa counter for this match.
Yeah, they're so low impact though.
He played this card like 8 times. It was insane.
Yeah. Luckily for you, they're so low impact.
Yeah, like obviously this turn wasn't the best turn for an Elsa, but I think he also has the snake here, right? Oh no, he T-Pos.
No, T-Po. Because I think his hand is just like 2 more Elsas.
Yeah. Which is fun, because I wonder if the T-Po... I can't remember if he actually inks with the T-Po or not here. I feel like he doesn't.
I would not think so.
Trying to... Looks like I just finished off the Elsa, and then play... yeah, so I Zeused his Elsa, and then I played a Turn-a-Box Follower, and then he played a Genie. But this is really just like such a grindy game. I wish there was a timer on here because I don't know how long our set actually was, but it felt like if it weren't for game 2 being so short, we probably would have been like in time.
Yeah, and I think you were close because I remember Ben yelling out your guys' names, and you were like, "Oh, we're in feature match."
Yeah.
So you had extra.
We didn't report because I don't know, like in my mind I just thought the feature match area they would report for us because he told us that we were on our own timer also. So I just like wasn't thinking about it when I walked away. But yeah, I think this is the turn too, which is like a pretty big turning point here. And maybe it's the next turn. There's like a turn that comes up where I play a bunch of dudes and all he does is draw a bunch of cards. And it just like it ends up being one of the worst turns for him.
Interesting quest here, no?
I mean,
like you're only at 5. He can.
Yeah.
He's gaining 3. Yes, I know you have nothing to Calhoun per se.
Yeah, I think that's the argument, right? Is like there's nothing that Calhoun can do. So because of that, he just feels like he's better off questing than putting his characters in danger. Like I am a steel deck, right? So like if he runs both Calhouns in and I just play Tinkerbell, that's a blowout, right? Like he can't just play into Tinkerbell.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's an interesting turn.
I think I exerted the rabbit to Zeus's Genie, and then I paid 3 to draw cards, and then I just put more lore into play.
Yes, I did not think you should ink this Smee. I didn't think in a Diablo and play that turn was worth not playing Diablo Smee the following turn.
Yeah, this was the joke about the 4 friends this game. That's where about. I think the 2 lore is probably worth it.
Yeah, I could see the iPads, and there was like no pressure on either side, basically.
Yeah.
So I just figured you were done inking.
Okay. So I think this is that turn where he has to make a decision what to do with his Elsas, because he has this snake in his hand that he clearly wants to pick up Elsas with. And he makes a decision to pop Broom also, which that feels a little bit desperate in this turn.
Yeah,
Like, I
like
feel
Broom
like-
could have banished Diablo and then.
Well, he just played the Broom this turn, but that
Right,
felt
no.
weird.
Your
Yeah, it felt
Diablo
weird.
also wasn't exerted that turn. So,
Yeah,
like, he could have just waited a turn.
Yeah, especially because it turns out that he didn't even like take the Calhoun in the end, so he just took the free damage in a way. It was weird. Rabbit things. I think I drew a 1-drop. Yeah.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Like, it's the same argument as before. It's like, should I really have inked my 3-drop just to put a 1-drop into play? Like, I think it's really fair that the last 2 turns I could have not inked and just kept cards in my hand.
Yeah, like you wouldn't have been able to replay the rabbit that exact turn, but you would have played like 3 characters,
Right.
and then the following turn still had the rabbit that you're bouncing with the fox. Because you
Right.
still bounce it and just play it another turn.
Yeah, so I think this is that turn.
Him
So
drawing friends is frustrating. I
he
mean, you drew
paid-
more than him, but
Right.
at this point in the game is frustrating.
Yeah, I think that was like the big thing. So this is that turn where he like snakes. He drew a card with friends, snakes a snake, and then I think he ends up potentially snaking Elsa. Oh no, he just picks nothing up. Okay,
No, he picked up something.
he picked up a snake. I
Oh,
thought but he still had
snaked
2
his own
resources
snake.
left over, so he could
Yeah.
have like snake picked up one of his other Elsas.
Yeah, that's very weird.
And then yeah, this ends up pretty favorable for me too, I believe. So this is where like inking more came into play. Like it looked wrong early, but the plays that it leads to, I think, end up kind of being pretty fair. I think I'm just considering the Chernobog, but I'm pretty sure I leave it in play. Yeah, I mean, so like Elsa, kill 2 dudes, plus Calhoun, that turn is like a pretty good turn for me. And that Elsa that had 4 damage on him could have been in his hand because he had a second snake.
Right.
So that's why I think leaving that two up last turn and not double snaking was costly for him.
You did end with 1 extra ink available this turn.
Yeah.
Interesting. If he bounced the Elsa, you probably don't play your own that turn since you have a Calhoun.
Yeah, I it's probably true, for sure.
Which then you could have played Calhoun and Rabbit if in our theoretical universe.
Right. So it's just obviously in the game like this, we're on turn 1,000,000. There's a million decisions going on, but it's always fun to go back and like kind of like retrace your steps.
Yeah, it's
that kind of did what I
amazing.
wanted to do. And even here, like him snaking snakes, it's fine, you know.
Be fine if you draw a bell and just completely punish that decision. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he picked up his Elsa again, so
I thought he was playing Hades this turn. It's just sticking with his
Hades
hand.
next turn.
The Hades was a beating. I don't know if you remember. No spoilers. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, so I drew another Elsa. I get to take his thing off.
Yeah, that was
Gain
nice.
some more lore. And I think this put me up to 15. And
16.
was it 16?
Yep.
And then I just had another Diablo, which is great. So now I'm hellbent, but I'm hellbent in a board that has Rabbit and the Diablo here. So even in this perfect world where his snake trades into my fox, his Elsa takes out my Rabbit, like I'm totally fine with that position in the game.
Diablo is so underrated. Like the fact that you just know you're either gonna win with it or draw a card.
Yeah, I mean, it feels pretty great.
It's really hard to fit it into some color combinations, but
Yeah,
what
the
did he Hades and
by
Elsa?
Yeah.
Oh, you were at 15. They had your lore total wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, wonder if he should have Hades your Diablo.
I think I drew, Fox. So it was great because this was like this really came in to be a really big turn because of the inkwell. So because I did accrue those inkwells, I was able to have that massive turn and put 2 dudes in the library. And this is where I'm like, man, I feel so good about this. Like, I'm just gonna like win the game. That's exactly how I felt on that turn. Like when I drew the library off the top, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can lose this game. But that's not even really that true. Like a crap here, it's still pretty fair. But I do get to go to 18 with 2 dudes, so I'll take those odds. I also don't think in this game, I think I had pretty good outs on goats too. I think I might have inked one like on turn 1, but that was about it. But he has the crab, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then he like follows up with Let It Go, and I'm like, wow. I was like, that was like rough.
Yes.
So now I'm like, okay, like 17 is still a very good number, right?
I still think that Hades should have been on the Diablo.
I think that that's a really fair argument. But I guess the Elsa would have been, in theory, the Elsa is worth more lore.
Yeah, but you actually, you wouldn't have been able to play the library if you replayed the Elsa.
Yeah.
Rule number 1, draw more cards, win more games.
Yeah, I mean, this is another, like one of those turns too, where he's able to like do everything he wants to. Clears my board, I'm on 17, and he's like, all right, I can finally turn the corner. And I think I just draw like the 2 best cards ever.
Yeah, this is Scott Landis metagame, by the way.
Yeah,
like actually fighting for board and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
I think
the game just ends because I draw exactly 10 ink worth of cards, and I'm like, here's 4 lore, go.
And this is when he questioned, how do you have so much ink?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, you did Hades and Let It Go.
Yeah, I stepped in.
But yeah, the idea that I played like so many turns in a row where I was able to just maximize all ink this late in the game was pretty efficient. But yeah,
matches like this are so much fun. Like I was complaining about the metagame earlier, in jest, yeah. But like when you have this many decision points and people are actually challenging, like it was miserable when people would only quest when they were winning by a mile.
Yeah.
Like otherwise it was just 2 people staring at each other most of the matches.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun set. And that was the big deal in that tournament too. Like that player was going to be 5-0. So it was a really good game.
That player was qualified for nationals.
I mean that was a definitely way to address that concept of like, all right, like you start 5-0 in a tournament, you qualify for nationals. But it was interesting playing that game with him, and then later on kind of like going back, watching it, talking about it, because there's plenty of decisions that could be made that are 50-50 decisions. Like we talked the whole game about inking too much. And maybe that's a fair argument, because if I didn't ink the cards I did, maybe I could have just won the game with those cards.
Yeah.
But in the end, 2 turns in a row, I maximized my inkwell. So it's not like I ever got punished for inking long term in theory. So, but like if I had lost that game, there would have been a really fair debate going, well, you inked 2 3/3s in the middle of the game that were definitely worth something.
Yeah, so 2 things. One, something that like I try to teach newer players when they are like inking every turn. Like George, if he played something that wasn't Ruby Amethyst.
Mhm.
I would tell them, if you're not going to use the ink twice, you probably don't want to ink. It's just like, if you're playing in DLCs, it's not going to help you. But if you're like going to locals, that's a good learning tool. Like, oh, am I going to end up using this twice, or am I basically just discarding this card from my hand for nothing? The other thing is something I don't think people realize: when you're in a situation where two paths are genuinely close to 50-50, both are correct.
Yeah.
Just because the one that you picked watching, and not just for this match, for any matches you watch, just because the one that you picked in your head watching was the one that won, half the time it wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
The cards are random. So anyway, that's all.
Play a differ on the bottom of your deck anyway.
Yeah.
That's one that people never understand.
I was writing an article about inking, which is taking too long. It's just sitting in my like to be finished pile. And one of the things was pretend your deck is in a constant shuffling machine.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's always a lot of arguments about Daisy. Like when Daisy flips a song and it goes to your bottom, and your opponent's like, "Oh, I lost because they daisied my song." It's like the card was always on the bottom of your deck. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's
irrelevant. It's actually irrelevant.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, and you can't tell them otherwise. You just can't.
Well, because they're gonna remember the bad beat. Like that's all they're gonna remember.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And that's just like math that's hard to just explain in 30 seconds.
Yeah,
kind of like when you roll 2 die and you call odds or even.
I didn't want to bring that up. I was just about to say there's too many scenarios about this, so we should just move on. Because I did not even want to deal with that.
I had to give one more shout out to our boy Braden.
Yeah. At least he's, people are gonna assume we're just ragging on him. He's on the right side of history on that one.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
And some people, there's just no teaching them. So
well, he has a whole chart now, so
yeah, as if that mattered.